the next session of Behind the Rolls. Last week we talked about the general rules of D&D and mechanics, and then talked some of our favorite memories about D&D and how we came to play D&D. Today we're going to go a bit deeper and explain how you as a player would go about making your own character. And then we're going to just talk about different characters we made and stuff we liked about them. So yeah. Okay, guys. How do you create a character?
Well, there comes a few different things that's gonna come in. That are gonna come into play. Depending on who you are, you might want to come up with a concept. You want to be that noble knight or that intelligent spellcaster or that devoted cleric or whatever it might be. You might not exactly know specifically what it is. You could be someone who's just wants to play as the best fighter around. It could be as simple as that, or it could be something as grand as wanting to be the one who would be king. First thing you need is just an idea.
Okay, so I come up with the concept, right? Whatever I'm like, I want to play. Let's go with the last one. We'll go with the fighter. How do I make that a character, though?
Well, what's a fighter fighter?
I don't. What do you mean? Like, so
Well,
I guess what I'm saying is when you were talking about creating a character, it sounded like you were worried a lot about what they can do. But what if I don't? What if someone didn't know that? Like, what if someone didn't know what each of those things necessarily meant?
Well, that's why it comes down to just what it is that you might have wanted, necessarily the said concept. For me, the first time I came into D&D, I wanted to be something like Aragorn from The Lord of the Rings, which, from what I could tell at the point, and yeah, call me lame or what you will, was someone who was overall well rounded with weapons in the land and things of that nature. So I came in and I looked, and when looking at all these different classes, all these different races, all these different abilities, I had a little bit of a way to hone in on what I exactly wanted. And being able to be in that position, that's how I was able to learn of just about everybody else, especially through interacting with everyone else.
Anyone else? I'm just
Yeah, I
curious.
mean, I feel like
Oh, go ahead, Lainey.
what? No, you started first. I heard you go.
Oh god, okay. For me personally, I'm relatively new to D&D, and I only started about like 2 years ago. When I was first introduced, it was kind of like that whole track exactly, like what is the idea in your head of this character that you're going to play, and that's kind of where I started at. I started detailing like some things to my friends, like abilities or like concepts or like cultures that I kind of wanted to be in, and like thankfully a lot of my friends are really experienced in D&D and like kind of guided my hand, and I said like for my first character that I ever built, it was based off of my Dark Souls 2 character, actually, which was kind of like a mix between like lightning spells and healing spells, but also like combat focused. So that was like the idea that I came in with. And then I worked my character concept around that. So there's like different races and then different other abilities and then like ability scores that all come into play when you have to like think about how you're building your character and like the overall arc of how you want that to move smoothly in together. Like you can um like optimize that to have the best outcome, or you could play something a little more like concept driven that doesn't exactly exude like the prime stats, but it is like a way to do it as well. If you have like a strong like feeling like I want to play this character no matter what, even if it's like at a detriment to my playing in the future potentially.
Lady, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I mean, like when I first started playing, which also, like Christian, wasn't that long ago, I basically first thought about what kind of stuff that I want to be able to do. So I was kind of like guided through the player's handbook, and one of them was like, hey, this one you can control nature and turn into animals. I was like, yes, that. And I have never once picked my race to like optimize my class stats, because I've always picked like a class and I'm like, okay, what do I want to look like? So I picked like a tiefling druid. I think I haven't really made that many ridiculous combinations lately, but I really oh wait, I have like a half orc, mostly bard rogue. So yeah, I don't
Who's the
really
best?
believe in optimizing. But then once I've picked kind of what I want to do, that's where the character kind of comes to life. Because I mean, like for instance with Bjolf, the god that I picked very heavily shaped his behavior. Um, and his overall demeanor. And I definitely picked his god on purpose because I wanted to try my hand at a character who's not good at heart. So I think that's something that like you kind of, I don't know, at least that's the way it works for me, is like I pick one thing and then the rest of it just comes.
Wolf really does fit in with us so well if he's not good at heart.
Yep.
He's
None
not,
of us are.
he's really not.
We're like the worst band of scoundrels. We're always just like treasure, kill stuff.
I feel like Bjolf is on a different level of not good.
Look, I've slaughtered villages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
If I may,
Kovash is kinda,
for me, you, and Laney, when it comes to our northern band of northerners, all of us have the prerequisite check mark of slaughtered people. It's kind of like you need to slaughter
it's
people
like a
to
rite of
survive.
passage.
You don't live without
It kind of is though.
I'm gonna be real. I agree with everything you guys said. I kind of try to focus on the concept first of what I want to play, whether I'm drawing from a movie or a book, or just something in my head that I'm like, that seems like that would be fun to play.
But I also know that there are some people that they just coming up with the concept isn't enough for them. More so, they might even want to come up with. They'll pick their race first, and then they'll learn through what cultures are available, and then let the culture and lifestyle that their character may have gone through.
Right. That's all
Evolve
part of
it
the concept of what you
into
want to play. Like that all plays a part in it. And yeah, that's the first thing we were gonna talk about was the races, and basically the first thing we're gonna talk about actually is how they affect you. Like when you're looking at them, just the different things that they do, because each race gives you different things. Just so like you're like, I like this culture. What is that? How does that translate? Um, all the different features, and one of the one a lot of people pay attention to, but I agree that I will totally dump a stat for some good RP comp like potential.
Mm-hmm.
I will totally go with a 6 charisma and be just completely socially inept.
You mean you're not already socially
Or
No, not
play to
quite.
your advantages with your disadvantages.
Right. Or I might, decide, no, I want to be this super frail character that cannot take a hit to save his life.
But on the offhand, that you don't take him down in one hit, he's gonna.
Never dump Constitution. This is just an example. Do not do it if you want your character to live.
Don't do it, guys. Don't do it.
That was we talked about that a lot when we were talking about Constitution last time.
Oh man.
But yeah, each of the races, one of the big things that people look at is the ability score increases they offer you. Most races give you a +2 to 1 score and +1 to another with a few variations. The human gives you +1 to all, and the half elf gives you +2 to charisma and +1 to 2 of your choice. And there are variants and different options. Um, they give you generally the lifespan and ages that those types of characters usually would live,
Mm-hmm.
and how their societies are sort of built, like socially and morally. You know, is it the drow of the Underdark that worship a chaos goddess, or is it the human-built civilization that is all about conquest? Um, Slightly different things about the culture. How big those characters tend to be, how fast they can move is another thing that pays a different. Smaller characters like dwarves and halfling. No, dwarves have 30, don't they?
Dwarves have 30. It's gnomes that have 25.
No, yeah, small characters might have a smaller speed. There are a couple that have bonus. I think certain elves get an extra 5 to speed.
A couple of them do, yeah. What else I believe do?
And then most of them will give you languages you know, and might give you options of languages you can choose.
Dwarf alone specifically will give you um,
Yeah.
a lot of different weapon or weapon proficiencies or tool proficiencies.
Yeah. They give you languages, and then, yeah, each one also gives you unique feats.
Dwarves are also 25 feet of movement as well. I was wrong.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, so like your race or your species, if you're a elf or a dwarf or human, does play a big role in the effectiveness of your character. But again,
Feel free to ignore that at any time.
yeah, play the character you want to play.
Or always.
Mediocre.
Yeah.
Mediocre is great. But there are several races. There's plenty of books and extra options. I'm just gonna go through the ones in the player's handbook, and sort of explain a bit, sort of about what those characters are like. Um, you mentioned dwarves, being, like you said, some crazy boost there. They give you sub race options. That give you, like, one of them makes you just super tanky and gives you a ton of health.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, I want to say, gives you extra armor proficiency or something.
I think
Bless you.
I think one of them might have, but I think it was actually just the dwarves as a whole get the weapon proficiency and then the heavy armor proficiency. It's either that
It's
or it is
medium
one of the,
armor.
yeah, medium armor. That's
Yep. Elves, more dexterous. Most of them tend to live like forests and nature.
Longest age generally. Being able to take a long rest and a little bit of a shorter time span.
And they don't sleep, they like meditate.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, they don't sleep, they like meditate,
Yeah.
and then they're immune to charm. There's a lot of benefits to being like a high elf in particular.
Yeah, they give you like cantrips and extra. They also give you specific weapon proficiencies.
And then a lot of these things come up to where, some people might think, well, they look a human. And, well, human, when you pick it, you get
+1 to all stats.
+1 to all stats. So the most ability score, ASIs, ability score increases from just picking a race out of everyone. On top of it, too, if your DM allows it, you can take the variant rule where you do +1 to 2, select a feature, a language, and a skill, and move off from there.
Yeah.
And what this entails is, the roving human who picks up large amounts of skills or whatnot might be a little more specialized.
Yeah. A little context, I guess, on races. Typically, in the most D&D settings, we can do, what is it, Faerun. Your dwarves tend to live in mountains. They tend to be very lawful, very like every dwarf has his code. Elves are a little looser. They like to be free and be in nature. Humans, on the other hand, like you said, are just kind of they're jack of all trades. They're decent at everything, but they're not really special in any way.
They
Um,
suck.
I think the important thing, regardless of all these races, though, is that it really you can do whatever you want, regardless of what it gives you. We're just trying to explain that each one does give you different options and different things you can do that can help play into that original concept you wanted to create.
Come into the boat is wanting to be that, for example, earlier this fighter, and you don't know what race to pick. Well, one of these races might make you stronger and more durable, and on top of it, give you access
Yep.
to a breathing weapon, or may give you the ability to see in the dark. He's better than other people. Sometimes the race can be much more of a supplement to define what specializes your character concept, or can also be just what defines their background.
Yeah,
Another thing that we'll get into later.
yeah. And that's fair too. Like, I don't want to spend a ton of time on races because, in essence, they don't matter. You can do whatever you want, especially if you get the roles or put your stats right. You can get what you need to play just about any character you want, regardless of where they come from or what culture they have. There are some that work better with others, as a chronic optimizer will point out. As they've kind of said, human variant, half elf, and elves are picked a lot for characters. Just because of their versatility and capability of doing a lot of things. Dwarfs are good at very specific things, sort of like rangers, and some of the classes have very specific things they're good at. But that can always make fun stuff. Little known fact about Komash, not really, but he's smarter than he tends to put on most of the
You
time.
do not play him being dumb well. You do not play him dumb. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm aware. I'm really bad at dumb. That's why I did it.
And
because
why?
it was
Why?
really hard.
Why did you
I
pick one?
didn't expect to have to stream Kovash. But there's also some cooler ones. You mentioned gnomes tend to be really small and not necessarily big fighters, but they make great wizards. Maybe I'll make a gnome wizard.
Oh my god.
I haven't ever played a gnome in my life.
Hey, you've done a
Like
half.
Curtis?
I don't know if it'd be like Curtis.
Curtis, the 9-foot long beard.
I do like the idea of playing a crazy old gnome sorcerer or something. And I haven't played a sorcerer in forever. Half orcs, dragonborns, if you want to be cool and kind of like a half dragon person. Or Lainey mentioned half orcs with Kranis. Kranis is one of my favorite characters because of how unoptimized he is.
He's super unoptimized.
He's just so fun.
Yeah. But no, his charisma.
Hey, that makes it a good time.
Yeah, his charisma is getting like stupid though. His pluses to like deception and persuasion are getting to be gross, and I like it. So his personality is changing in the Fae.
But yeah, I think we should spend a little more time on classes though.
Oh yeah?
Because like I said, race is important. If you want to optimize and be really good at what you do, you pick a race that works.
What you want to do is also important.
Exactly. But the class ultimately is hard to get around, even though all of the classes have great versatility. Certain character concepts that you want to do really only truly work with a couple of class options. So I figured just go in alphabetical order in the way they're in the PHP. Fun story, we don't have a PHP with us.
I have one.
I have one.
They pretty much come in the order that you have written down right up there. Barbarian.
Yeah, I have it in, and I wasn't gonna just like read all of the features out of the book. I figured we'd just like sort of be like barbarians and maybe talk about like some pop culture barbarians. You know, some NPC
Conan.
barbarians, if you will. Yeah, Conan is the obvious one. My personal favorite is Dave the Barbarian.
Oh God, Dave.
Hey,
I
Dave
do
the
want to play a
Barbarian.
truly dumb barbarian, but I don't know if I can.
Like Lung?
I
Like
bet
this.
you $1 gazillion you can't do it.
I don't think I can. I can't dump my int.
Yeah, you can.
I can go as low as like an 8. I can do average.
You could do lower than that. You don't need anything.
I
against-
can't.
You
It's so hard.
You totally can. You think you need it, but you never use it. I think Kovash has used
No,
a
I
history
know,
rule.
but I'm talking like I can't play it. Like yes, I can dump int and play with a low int.
If I may, we have so many smart sounding people in high positions of power all across the country, for example. You don't have to necessarily be smart to sound smart. And you can play the character who is just smart enough to know what people want to hear, even if you don't understand what the hell you're spouting, or b are just trying to get by with a con, kind of slipping into the bard
Right.
area.
Well, bards are so much more than that, though. Bards and rogues are two of my favorite classes. Why? Anyone want to take a guess?
Road to El Dorado.
I mean, but more importantly, it's why Warlock is third, I think. I know last
Charisma.
week I said it was first.
Oh,
not
no, not
charisma.
charisma. Sorry.
Versatility. Wizard does have a ton of versatility in their spells. It's why I don't like martial classes. I like being able to do different things.
Mm.
And rogues, bards, and warlocks give you the most different ways to build that character, in my opinion. There's so many ways to spin those. And there are a ton of ways to spin every class. I'm not saying there aren't. But like I'm talking the actual mechanics and features they give you, the way they work. Rogues and bards are literally skill monkeys. They're literally known for being able to do everything.
This is true, but no. Let me throw this out there, Lainey. I got
Yeah.
one for you. When you were coming up with Bjolf and you were thinking about the class that you wanted to be, what was the big defining feature that say made you 100% select cleric over paladin, for example, even if the idea never
I
struck you?
haven't played cleric before, and I wanted to play cleric.
Okay,
That
very
was my reason.
No,
yes.
that's
a
how
great
I
reason.
do it, but at this point I've played most things. That's why I'm like, ooh, I'm playing a gnome somewhere. Christian, can we change to being strength-based gnomes?
Oh my god.
Oof. Maybe like you're a strength-based gnome. I'm a strength-based orc.
Are you sure?
We could be gnome and orc. We could be that combo.
Oh,
That would
you're
still
a
be
half
sick.
half brothers is one and a half of your parent a gnome.
Yes.
Yes, that sounds
Yeah.
dope, dude.
Yeah.
I am all about having weird bloodlines on the other half of like a half orc or a half elf.
Yes.
Like even if it's just for flavor, I love mixing other stuff other than human.
And
And
for-
like everywhere we'll go, we'll just be like, yeah, that's my brother, and people will be so fucking confused.
Yep.
Yes.
Hey, that's why I was pretty ecstatic when leaving a little bit of what it was that made Sif a little bit unique in the hands of the DM, finding out that he's technically a half human, half Goliath. Now that was pretty interesting to find out, and it was like, oh sweet, that's not something you would hear.
Oh fuck.
Because when you're right up there, we got half orc, got half elf.
we got Bjolf the cleric.
Well,
He's a human.
Poison warriors, they heal people. Barbarians are big, strong guys that go into rages. Or girls. Bards are very charismatic. They're con men. They're jacks of all trades. They're good at a lot of things and a master at a few things.
druids are.
And they get spells. Spells is a whole episode in its own. I'm not getting into spells today. Guys. That's too much of a.
Well, it's simple enough for it. It's something that you can go really simply into it. Actually, with this, because it kind of comes up with these classes is the three different major. I'm not going to call them schools because we know what schools of magic are in the arcane.
You're talking about the different
the 3 tiers of
caster
magic.
classes.
Yeah, the 3 tiers of magic plus warlock speciality stuff.
Warlock is a full caster.
No, it's not that they're a full caster. What I mean is when you come to like druids and then rangers, it's nature magic.
Right.
When you come to
bards are arcane. Think wizards.
Bards and wizards are
technically
are
warlocks
arcane.
are arcane, but it's different. We'll
they
get to that later.
Warlocks, like I said, it's not that they're like arcane. You're jumping into it too quickly. They're either or, because you can have a patron that's divine. You can have one that's a spirit of nature.
That's true.
And you can have one that's a fiend of fire. It could be any of the other ones. It's the most open out. While wizards, they could be wizards that are focused in divine magic, but they can never cast some of these grandeurs that are only granted by the gods. But they can tap into those divine energies when casting their spells and create these ways of being able to see like the gods across vast distances, or other such things. Scurrying, for example. Scrying. Sorry, I used the word
Scurrying?
Scurrying, yes.
Clerics definitely scurry in their heavy armor. Those aren't scurrying like clerics.
Hey, not all clerics wear heavy armor, man.
Nope, Beowulf definitely doesn't. And I can't remember his name, but my light cleric of Lathander definitely wore.
No, the only ones that get heavy armor. There are only a few subclasses of cleric that get heavy armor.
Oh, the Forge cleric gets heavy armor.
War cleric. And my favorite part is that life cleric gets it. It's the greatest thing ever.
It makes sense for the life clerics though, because when
they keep everything alive.
Yeah, because when in these grandeurs of war, there were multiple types of clerics. There'd be the clerics that are more close up to the front lines, waving incense or such that might help to boost intensity or morality, while the other ones in the back would be helping the ones who've been pulled to the back lines, morality based, and areas like this in war have always been grand targets to hit. If you can stop them from recovering their wounded, that's more people that can't possibly come back.
Right. Cleric. All of the spellcasters, in theory, give you a lot of versatility. Most of the classes do have several ways you can play them, build them, work it however you want into a million characters. Clerics, like you said, spells, what god. It's all.
They all give versatility to certain areas. Some shine brighter more often than not, and that usually comes up with the spellcasters.
Yeah.
Martial classes.
It can be boring. As a barbarian, I attack stuff. Combat happens, I rage, I go and I cut stuff.
Well, while you're playing as the barbarian, when you look at all the features, you can see that it very well takes care of your fighting concepts. And you said you're in D&D to be, like, one of the best things in D&D for you is the combat. Is going through it. I ran into the same thing on Kalmar, for example. He's he's the very weird concept. He's a barbarian wizard. And the reason he's gone wizard isn't necessarily because that he didn't feel that he was as versatile as everyone, but more so he wanted ways that he could boost himself and the others without having to necessarily
cut them.
Exactly.
No, I get it. That's kind of where Kovash is at, and the trouble is he can't do gods. And I don't.
Yeah, we've learned that from the chats that he's had. Or were those with Katra? The chats with Delanith.
Katra.
Kovash. No one chats with Kovash. The only time y'all chat with Kovash is to yell at him for attacking you.
You always go to sleep as soon as we camp, dude.
Sorry.
Wait, is it my turn for a Beowulf adventure?
Huh?
Is it my turn for a Beowulf adventure?
I don't think that's a good idea.
Kovash hasn't gone out with Zuko yet.
Yeah.
I still don't think that's a good idea.
I finished
I mean, you did have like one moment with him when you guys found, because you found the arrow when I was there, and I was the first one that saw it. That's why, like, when you found it, I saw how sketchy you act about it, and then you came back and was like, "This guy's my friend," and I was like, "That's not what you said like 20 minutes ago," but okay.
Well, I don't know. You have to
The
tell them
plot
at
thickens.
the same time. I can't tell you first.
How the turntables have tabled.
That's why I wish I had my webcam in so you all could see the look of Sif's face as he's like giving the look of really,
We were all doing that. We were like,
really Kovash,
bro.
really
Really?
Kovash.
Don't blame me. It's Theo's fault. He's not here to yell at me this time. It's his fault.
No, it's
He's
not.
the one who's like, hey, you know, right after you attack them and everyone's mad at you, hey, guess what? You're gonna piss them off more because you're gonna try and get a killer to join the group.
Hey, that's
See,
weird.
like you told me you didn't like this guy though. That's why. That's why.
Yes, I am. Don't talk shit. Oh, the DM has arrived, and Don is about to have a cow fall on his head.
Oh,
He's gonna scoot
sad.
over.
Oh yeah, it's probably here. Look, it's almost guaranteed to be here.
I shall be right back.
But next is Druid, which is one of my favorites. I can't come up with a good Druid concept myself, but Lainey has my favorite Druid.
I do love Solon. She is one of my favorites. Was, I guess, because she's dead now.
No, she's not. She was reincarnated. I'm going to
Nope,
rescue
she's
her.
dead. Super dead.
Solon cannot
Super,
die.
super-
People I know don't
Solon's
live.
dead.
I find ways to bring them back. Neil is the
Yeah,
kind of
okay.
thief that is
Haven't
going
brought
to
anybody
steal
else
people
back,
from
so-
death.
Huh?
Neil is the kind of thief that is going to try and steal people back from death.
Oh my god.
Death is annoyed with you.
Oh,
so
Death can be as
I don't think
annoyed as he
he'll
wants. That is now his goal.
To annoy
New goal
Death.
for Neil. Steal people from death.
But okay. Okay.
Okay, Neil.
Here's the thing. You're messing with you're messing with a guy that you think is Death, and then he's not Death. I'm not getting into this with you right now.
We're getting sidetracked. We're here to talk about Solon. Sorry.
Oh, what do you want to talk about with Solon?
I don't know, like druids are awesome. Talk about Solon. She's a cool druid.
She is a cool druid. Basically, I made her a really long time ago for my first D&D campaign, and I made a druid obviously because I was like, oh, I can turn into a giant wolf and whatnot. And then I chose a tiefling because I thought they looked really cool. I gave her like gray skin, black horns, blue hair. It was a good time. And then when I became a DM, I actually kind of brought her into one of my campaigns. And if you have the patience to get to level 20 on a druid,
Oh
There's-
my god.
there's
You're unkillable.
it's great. Like the type of
Infinite wild shape. You are just about unkillable.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
takes multiple massive amounts of damage to kill you.
Mhm.
Like consistently. In theory, with your healing spells and bonus action as a moon druid,
Mhm.
you can keep healing yourself too, and then turning into an animal.
Well, that and like once you get to a certain point, you can cast spells while in animal form.
Yeah, you can just
can
be
just
like,
be, like,
yeah, heal.
running
fuck
around
you.
like I don't know, you could be in the ocean swimming around with a killer whale and just being like bah! And like shooting spells at people. It's
Fireball.
That's amazing. I love that he like has a bird squad.
That's my new druid concept. He's gonna be a shark that shoots spells out of his mouth.
Okay, so
Spell shark.
all right.
And
so,
he's going to make a Sharknado.
Oh my god. So as you
Oh my
fly
god, he is the
the
Sharknado.
area, you look forward and you see the entire room is filled with hundreds of alligators. Fireball. And everyone watches as a giant fireball comes barreling out of the shark's mouth, exploding and murdering everyone in front of
Yeah, shark druid sounds fun.
Like to me, conceptually, like Druid just has like the most potential, I feel.
you. Tricks.
Yeah, a remake of
yeah.
Tricks as a druid would be fun. Just make him all about being. He doesn't
Like-
go a day's journey from a source of water. Fact.
I mean, then there's also like the Circle of Dreams druid. Like Becky got to level 14 and she was able to cast a spell and like walk in people's dreams. Like some of the stuff that like the different circles give you are just absolutely insane.
Yeah, spores gives you like damage over time and like extra necrotic damage and stuff.
And spore zombies.
Yeah, spore zombies, spores.
Oof.
The Last of Us.
Fighter is again, it's versatile. You can build an elf ranger with a bow will get the most attacks per round as a fighter.
Mhm.
And you can do that and not build it strength. Or you can build it strength and go weapons.
And even going with it without trying to go out, you just want to be the person who can swing the most in a turn.
Yeah.
Fighter will without using without using
I guess we
magical
should
items,
say
they will consistently attack the most every turn.
yeah.
Because their extra attack actually scales higher up, as opposed to say paladins and barbarians, who, as opposed to getting another extra attack later, have access to things like smite or reckless swing, rage.
Additionally, they get more abilities, which also means more potential feats, which means actually one of the most versatile classes to go.
The most versatile class to go when it comes to
You can go
cost of
Eldritch
physical.
Knight, Porter Caster. We were talking about the 3 types of
I-
cast before.
Yeah, when I started D&D, I actually started as a fighter Eldritch Knight. Was my
Yeah,
first
that's what
original
Cora
character
said about
concept.
it, right? I kept thinking she started as a pure artificer.
No, it was it was Eldritch Knight Artificer
Okay.
was what it was, because we started at 3.
Yeah, the real problem with the lower casters is their spells are less impressive longer.
Mhm.
It takes longer to get spell casting as a half caster. We haven't gotten to any yet. That's why we haven't talked about them. But fighter Eldritch Knight is a quarter caster actually, right?
Oh, which one? Eldritch Knight. It's a third caster, but yeah.
Yeah. So like they get. I think they only get up to 4th level spells.
Third level spells, no higher.
Third level spells, which yes gets you fireball. But when you're level 20, a level 3 fireball isn't doing anything.
It's doing more than some might assume. Walking into into the layer of a beast and you have hundreds of minions, a fireball is still going to be the most effective way to clear all these almost insta-give monsters.
I want to build. Ooh, that would be fun. I haven't actually thought of an actual Eldritch Knight build I want to do. I want to do an almost purely abjuration based bow user Eldritch Knight.
Oh.
Haste.
We've talked about that before.
All
Yeah.
of those like buff spells with a bow with 4 arrows per turn. Oof. That'll be a fun character.
Yikes, boys.
I'm gonna build that.
Next up, then we have Monk, which
Oh.
some people have problems with. Some people don't.
I don't
I
have
don't see
problems
too-
with Monk. I have a love-hate relationship with
Mhm.
Monk.
But monks are generally going to be your most dexterous and wise folks. Much like druids, they're very at center, not necessarily with nature in this regard, but more so with themselves or with the style that they follow.
I mean,
And
unless
all I'm sorry, one more time?
unless you pick a drunken monk, in which case,
Oh
I think
yeah, the drunken monk.
their values can be somewhat skewed.
A little bit.
Is that like actually a thing?
Yeah, there's way of
Yeah.
the drunken
Maybe,
kids.
maybe we're playing one in Vicarian Knights.
Yep,
Yeah, that sounds so fun, actually.
it is.
Mhm.
At some point, I want to bring that back. That was fun to do.
Mhm.
Just roll on tables and be like, the story for this week, it's kind of like a monster of the week. We'll see what happens with it later, but that's kind of just what I was doing. I was like, oh, tables, roll. This is the monsters. Build a story. Got it. This is what's happening this week, guys. I don't know. I tied it in somehow.
But even with that too, be the best fighters with fists, and depending on the way that you follow, you have some of the more versatile options to do other grand physical gestures.
You
Being
can run
able
on
to
walls,
run on walls,
water.
attack, push your body to attack more times than not, or even
Be extremely elusive, hard to hit.
mhm,
Monks are really powerful. That's why that everyone, not everyone, a lot of people have love-hate relationships with monks because they're so cool and they're so fun. You
there's
got the Kensei monk that can take any weapon that's not a heavy weapon and turn it into a monk weapon and be like, "Yup, this is my monk weapon."
mhm.
And
That's like the Jackie Chan of
yeah,
monks.
or Kenseis are more about. I guess that's true. He used. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like he in all of his movies he uses like random objects as weapons all the time.
Um,
Because he's amazing.
there's Stunning Fist.
Yes.
That's all about hitting people and stunning them.
Crowd control.
Yeah, monks are really versatile. They're big damage dealers, but they are martial classes. There's the Way of the Four Elements, which is arguably
The worst optimization.
I was gonna say arguably least optimized than Ranger. Like it's a cool class. It's your avatar. It's monks get key points that they can spend on these feats and these abilities, and you can do these cool things like move, fire, create a wall of stone or wind, and all these cool stuff. But they cost so many key points that it's just inefficient and doesn't work. And it's sad because I want to play one.
Do you like regenerate key points on like a long rest or?
Yeah,
I think you can get them back.
Yeah.
On
Short rest.
but we're talking some of
Oh,
these
okay.
for like 5 and 6 key points.
Well, yeah. But now
And that's the same cost for reference. That's something you can do 3 times, and then you're pretty much out. And that's at almost level 20.
Firestorm actually. Ooh, I missed that. Next up, though, we have what Sith on Dickest Band of Merry Men happens to be a paladin.
Aladdin.
Different from clerics slightly, not very much at all, actually. Basically, take
Kind
fighter.
of different, not really.
It's really not. So you want to be a fighter, okay, but you want to have access to some magical natures, maybe,
But
or
Eldritch Knight, that's not strong enough. I want at least 5th level spells.
you want more magic, but you don't even want to have to really go through all these long lists. You just want to be able to pick from, hey, you know these, just select which ones you want. On top of it, you also like the idea of having someone up behind you all the time, like, hey, come on, man, I got you back. I got you. You just go this way, help do this, and I got you
Make
back.
me uncomfortable. No one talks to me like that.
Oh my god.
No, paladins are great. They're spellcasting fighters, stronger than Eldritch Knights. They also get one of the strongest damage dealing abilities in the game in Divine Smites, along with several spells of that nature that they can choose to activate their Divine Smite when they hit someone. That means, hey, I rolled a natural 20 and critted my attack. I'm spending a spell slot to smite on that.
And it also brings in these really awesome combat scenarios that you can get. That's the thinking really highly into the martial area. If you're going into the half cleric side that paladins really are, they also have the ability to actually be boosters of morale or someone who can heal and keep the party going and mitigate damage. They're not usually just always the walking tanks that they may or may not seem like.
Right.
Bringing into the option like, oh, I got that crit. Now I get to do that really cool where I I stab someone and then the activate the smite and it's that reverberation that is what makes the
Right.
eventual out be so. Or you can just literally just look at it, tap it, and say you smote it, and then big loud sound, and the thing just falls, and it's like, don't mess with me. This is what happens when the things anger me.
You won't like me when I'm angry.
Paladins are also ridiculously strong, and not a lot of people like to play them. The other part that we haven't mentioned that is arguably more important than their divine smite, as awesome as it
Is their auras.
the auras are amazing. I was going to talk about not only can they deal almost the highest damage. I'm not sure who actually has the highest potential. The paladins are a very DPS class. They're also tanky and hard to hit with their heavy armor and shields. And not that you have to do that. Our old paladin in Dickus was that Rolling Thunder with great dexterity leather. Um, but is their healing. Not only do you do that, the spells you choose from are actually the divine spell list. With most
clerics.
of them.
There's a lot that you don't get access to, like healing word.
But you do get cure wounds.
But cure wounds as all just like lay on hands, you need to be there and do such. So when you yourself are a paladin, you got to think, do I want to use a spell slot to get that kind of okay cure wounds, or do I want to use parts of my healing hands? That's it.
Yeah. But yeah. Rangers. We're not skipping those.
No, we're not.
Rangers don't get enough love. They're very fun. They're very niche. Jellineth is a ranger.
Aragorn would be if you were previous, was very much a ranger.
Legolas also another variation of ranger. A lot of people picture people with a bow. Drizzt Do'Urden, the famous D&D ranger,
oh man,
was not a bow particularly. He scimitars, but there are all kinds of rangers that are really fun to play. Rangers tend to be really good at one thing, whether that be being in nature and tracking, which most rangers tend to be, based on some of the abilities they get.
They might be the most adept hunter slayers. Geralt of Rivia. As much as we might question it with some of the types of magic that he may or may not have used, he with how efficient he was with monster hunting was very much of the hunter of the ranger variants. If you go into the kind of crazier classes that they have elsewhere, then the only other one that more so fits would be the blood hunter. We're not going to get into that
one. Yeah, rangers are what paladin is to cleric, but for druids. They get most druid spells and access to extra stuff. Druids, clerics, bards all get healing spells. Rangers, paladins get healing spells.
I'm backing up for a moment to
bards. Their healing spells are not as effective late game because they're half casters.
Just same thing with paladins to a degree. But jumping back to bards for a second, while bards are full casters, they also, with some of the other options, seem to be the closest example that the game has to a martial spellcast, a martial spellcaster. Dicketh is very much
Dicketh is showing the College of Valor Bard from the raw PHP is good. I do it. I'm like, I want extra spells, but like he's showing that it's good. And as Lady pointed out, I am very bad at playing Kobashdom. I love how Daniel plays Dicketh.
It's so great. Wonderful.
It's not even dumb. It's just so like carefree. Like he literally doesn't care and isn't paying attention. And I love it because like Daniel isn't like that, but Dicketh just is. He's like, what? Yeah, I got some fruit, guys. Here, do you want some berries? What's going on?
God.
It's just so endearing. Like right. Even Bjolf likes Dicketh, and that's saying something.
That's because while all of us, as we were saying before stream, are not pure of heart, all of our characters, I think Dicketh might be the only one that is.
He's got some things to him that I think would necessarily pure of heart.
I think he's the closest.
But he's the closest to purity. I would definitely agree.
Either that or Katra is the like shadowy dark goth that puts on a huge front, but actually is innocent as fuck and hasn't done anything.
You mean maybe.
I could see that.
What is the next one up? In fact, speaking of Katra,
Sorcerers, Shadow Sorcerer. I don't know. I think that's in Xanathars.
yep, that's Xanathar.
That is a raw one. There's several options. Sorcerers are spellcasters that get their power from their bloodline, from their heritage, from their ancestry. There are several ways that you can flavor that. It depends on your DM, like we keep saying.
One great way to put it is if you were to pull in Marvel, and come in saying you want to be a sorcerer strange, well, one of the things we would probably tell you is you want to be a wizard. The big notable difference between sorcerers and wizards is that sorcerers don't necessarily have to. Not that they don't have to practice themselves as much, but they generally it comes more natural. The magic was born in them. It's less I'm figuring out the alchemical or equations or how to pull this fire from the elemental, the realm of fire from. It's more so I am able to will the fire, the flames of hell through, or it's a lot more natural as opposed to large expenditures of effort.
Right.
They also have the most versatile way of casting spells.
Right. Their metamagic stuff that they get from their different classes. I believe different subclasses give you a few other options with those spell points. Sorcerers get sorcerer points that they can spend on stuff. Tak was a great sorcerer.
Yeah, he was a wild magic sorcerer. So that's like every so often when you roll a certain number, you have to roll on like a table, and then something happens. So there was one time where like I cast a fire spell and I rolled on the table. I just like blooped oil everywhere, so I ended up lighting like 4 people on fire. And then sometimes you like grow, sometimes you can shrink.
Sometimes you turn your parents into potted plants.
Sometimes
not just your parents, your entire fucking village.
Right, you only
carry your parents around with you out of sheer guilt.
Yeah, they can do things though, like cast spells at longer range. With these options, one of the most versatile things and optimizers having of a multi-class between a sorcerer and warlock is that they can turn sorcery points into spell slots so that they can keep generating more and go longer.
But now let's talk one of the downsides. We haven't talked about too many downsides from some of these classes, but we'll jump into one of them right here before we maybe jump back into the others. Just quickly, probably at the end at Wizard, and that's well, with all these different great sounding things, why in the world, Don, would I ever pick Wizard over Sorcerer?
Wizards get to know theoretically infinite spells. They are not in it. They are in a way in and of themselves versatile in what spells they use and how that shapes who they become. But they do get base the most number of spells known at level 20.
Oh, wizards?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You get 2 every single level. Others start dropping off.
And for sorcerers?
Like 15, I think at level 20
I think
you end up with.
I think you actually get like 1 spell per level
So
that you
12.
choose, and then you are able to replace 1 spell that you know with another.
It's not all the way up. It starts staggering later on all of the casters except wizard. Everyone other, like, you get it to like 11 or 12 or somewhere in there, and then it becomes like every other level you get a new spell.
Except for cleric and paladin, who get their spells handed to them from the divine. The one every 2 levels, cleric every 2 levels, you'll get to that new spell class level, but you'll only have so many to choose from, and still limited to how many.
Clerics and druids' knowledge works different. They get to like choose from the entire class spell list every day, pretty much.
Not pretty much every day.
They're like, yeah, I slept last night. Cool. What spells do I want to do today?
Well, it's more like you pray and then ask for certain spells to
As
use.
a cleric, yeah, or however you
Like
do it.
meditating
Now,
nature, I think, probably.
because of how different it is, I think let's put Warlock and have it as a last one.
Oh, you know, you and me for 2 hours about Warlock.
Yes, we could easily.
Oh,
do
and
it.
Laney
So-
has Laney has all my favorite
Um,
characters. No offense,
Oh,
guys.
you talking about Sabina?
Who else?
Uh,
No, we can do wizards first. Elzan was a blast. I love Elzan. He was
And-
dope. None of you knew Elzan, so I'm not going to talk about Elzan.
My favorite is Dantor, Dicketh DM, the DM of Dicketh, Residence Wizard in Court of the Dragon Queen. You have this insanely smart man, this human. He is so smart for his age. He is able to process so much information. He's able to go through all these different plans and come up with something that might be pretty good. And then as soon as it fails, everything's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, so ultimately, when you read the book and you read through the wizard class, you look at it and you are underwhelmed. You're like, I get things every like 4 levels. I don't get that many ability score increases. What do I do with this? These are all such specific things. And then you realize how many spells you have. And the other cool thing about wizards that the other classes don't have is wizards get a spell book that they copy their spells into, which means when they find a spell on a scroll or another wizard, they can copy spells from each other. It costs money and materials to get it with magic ink and stuff.
Think of it as you practicing and learning and figuring it out.
But so on top of wizards getting the most spells in the game, they in theory can learn every wizard spell there is and prepare a good amount of them and effectively become a caster on a level with a cleric or druid that has access to the entire class spell list every day.
And in fact, wizards get access. Wizards and sorcerers, and I think warlocks. No, not warlocks. They get sorcerers and wizards, maybe bards. Oh yeah, because they can steal. Get access to the most powerful spell in the game.
Wish?
Theoretically, wish.
Wish has drawbacks. We're not getting in spells. Let's
Nope.
stop. But yeah, wizards are deceptively versatile, is what I'll say.
Oh yeah.
They don't see it. You read it and you're like, that's boring. It doesn't do much. I learn spells and I cast spells. But you have to understand all of the different options for what spells you can prepare and the different thought that goes into like. And clerics and druids get it all the time from level 1. But like that choice of all those spells being like, oh, what combo should I do today? What spells am I gonna use? It's I love playing casters for that reason because their spells alone, regardless of features they get that might somewhat narrow them down and how they work and what they do, you can make spellcasters do anything. And it's amazing. I don't know, Christian, do you have any wizards? I'm trying to remember.
I don't have any wizards. I did play as a storm sorcerer in Steve's campaign.
Right.
it-
Storm Sorcerer now, I believe.
Yep, storm sorcerer artificer was what we ended at.
Right.
And
So what kind of spells
yeah.
do you take with that? Like, is there a theme you go when you're learning new spells? What do you try to make Sword do? I've always been
So
curious. I know you have a lot of lightning spells because of your subclass.
Forgot to go check out front.
yeah, it's so the whole concept was like wielding and like empowering like lightning, essentially becoming like a champion of Zeus.
worst. I'm so sorry.
You got most of them.
Just kind of like with the whole concept, it was like taking lightning spells, and I was a bronze dragon born, so I had like lightning breath, and I was actually like gifted a magic item from Zeus called the Bracer of Zeus, which allowed me to like as a bonus action, I could summon a lightning bolt and then wield it like a lightning spear. So it was this whole like combat, magical, and then like I chose for her background for her to be an artisan, a guild artisan, and
Right.
like a blacksmith. So like her whole thing was like getting in and tinkering with like magic and actual like real physical material, and like a character trait that I chose for her was perfectionist, so that she would like have this like insane itch in her mind to just like go out and find magic and items and manipulate them and find them in new ways, and ultimately to embody like thunder and like this championship of just like sheer domination, but at the same time have like this gentle nature. But like that's really conflicting for her because she's like she had
Scary
like a
Legend
rough
Dragonborn?
past.
A scary
Pardon?
like Dragonborn noble.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
it's
yeah,
like
we
she
don't
came
say,
from this
oh, you're not
family, and
going
then
to
she's
die.
also like a 6'5" dragonborn, so it's like kind of intimidating. Like there are several times throughout the campaign where like NPCs will react to like your race, or like if you like cast a spell or something, like that all plays into like the role play and the lore of the world and how like it interacts with you, obviously. But like yeah, several times people were like would cower away from me because I'm a 6 foot tall dragon essentially. So it was like interesting, and then also to like see people react and like talk about like the spells that you use and like different items that you might be carrying is like a really fun part of the game as well.
Um, last one that Austin mentioned we moved though after Wizards was Warlocks. Warlocks only get to level 5 spellcasters.
That's half true. Once you get to level 11, you get access to Mystic Arcanum, which comes for your 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level spells.
But you
However,
only get one of them.
you only get to cast one of them of said level every time you take a. I want to say it is still short rest or it's long rest.
I think those are because I think it's long rest. But the benefit of getting those, they also get the least spell slots. At level 20, they only have four spell slots. But unlike the other characters that need to sleep to get spell slots, Warlocks just take an hour and they're like, hang on, let me take like an hour power. And they go nap and they come, they're like, cool, let's go cast some spells, guys.
Also, that level 1 spell they're casting when they're level 13 will always be third level. Or no, when they're level 13 will always be 5th level.
Warlocks are always pushing it to the max, is the short version. They're like, you can't magic spar with a warlock. You can't be like, hey, you're better than spar and maybe I'll get better. And you're like, if you say yes to that, you're like, kid, my spells are inherently stronger. I am going to fuck you up. Like, you can't do it. Warlocks are always on 10.
Mm-hmm. They are always on 10. They also happen to get some of the most versatile options any of the spellcasters get towards altering their gameplay itself. Do you want to make the best cantrip in the game better? You can do that. Do you want to make yourself more martial based?
You can do that. Cannon's great.
Do you want to make yourself a master convincer? You can do that. You want to give yourself dark vision? You can do that. And all of
Humans
these,
with dark vision are the best. Humans with dark vision, warlock.
and
For
these,
the win.
and these all come from things called known as Eldritch evocations.
Which give them, which is why I give them the same level of versatility as Rogue and Bard.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can take these things and, like you're saying, do a million different things. Laney's is my favorite.
Which one?
If you guys haven't noticed, Laney just makes really good characters, and they're mostly
talking
NPCs.
about Sabina because it's
mean,
it's kind of hard to put her into the warlock category at this juncture.
I mean, yes, but originally,
I know, but like, what do you really want me to say about her? I just know that you like her.
I mean, I hate her.
Huh? Yeah, basically, I started doing this backstory campaign where it's just like I would DM for his character, Neil slash Nick, that was in one of my campaigns. And essentially, very early on, I introduced this person who's like the vice president of this, basically the only magical technology distributor in the universe. And she basically hired him to kidnap her twin brother. She now wears him a little bead on her tie clip. And now I've kind of given him PTSD to the point where Neil kind of sees her everywhere. He thinks that she is involved in every conspiracy that
She is.
He thinks that, yeah.
She
And
showed up and talked to someone in my party. What are you talking about?
yeah, but that has nothing to do with you.
She mentioned me to him. It does.
Did she?
Yeah.
You weren't there. You don't know. You weren't there. You were mourning over your dead friend, which was very convenient for the time being. She was gonna come talk to him today, whether or not you were there. But yeah, she's a slippery one. Literally, she's a fae. She's a fae whatever warlock. Archfey. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. Yeah, she's an Archfey warlock, so she has this thing where like everyone around her is just completely drawn to her presence, and pretty much no one in the world knows that there's something fishy about her except for like Nick and one over person. No, there's one other person that knows that she's full of shit, but nobody can prove it. So
You mean Mozzie?
no.
I mean, Mozzie. She hired Mozzie.
So that doesn't mean he knows that she sucks.
He knows that she's shady.
Does he care about Shady?
I don't care. I don't like her.
Doesn't mean Mozzie doesn't. You're like one of two people that doesn't like her. Everybody else loves her.
Yeah, and
she's not up.
That's morally wrong.
What?
That's morally wrong. She actively makes magic around her to make people like her. She takes away their free will. That is morally wrong.
No, she doesn't use her fae presence. Like most of the time, people just like her. She doesn't go around like, "Oh, fae presence, love me." Like,
it's an act. She's fake. She's terrible. But no, Warlocks. Israel was another great one. He was Fiend, right?
No, he was a great old one.
Hand.
Mm-hmm.
Telepathy.
Yeah, except I didn't freak out my entire party with him and use it every single waking chance he had.
Israel wasn't completely mad. He was. We played different mad.
Oh yes, we definitely played.
You played PT mad. I played
because you had his hair. He had his hair. Allow me to explain why this guy was definitely the epitome of PTSD. He was a high elf general and led his people through a portal that had been spewing out unnamed creatures of unexplainable varieties. And
they were Cthulhu monsters.
Upon entrance, everything went nuts. I ended up killing in the dark somehow, killing the high general of said crazy creature's army, and then they were like, okay, as punishment, I'm going to hold you here for the next couple thousand years, in stasis. I'm going to take the soul of this general, and I'm going to shove it right down your mouth, and just...
Oh, I thought he was going to go for up the ass.
Well, I would have said that originally, but when it came spewing out my mouth, I was like, I feel like if it came in the other way, it would have came out that too. So we're just gonna go with that.
Not a pineapple twice a day, sideways.
An object in motion stays in motion.
It was definitely not. It wasn't in motion right before it went off.
But yeah, Warlock's hand was a duelist. he was a great old one, the same as him, and I made him a based on invocations and the way I played him. He was actually really good at what he did.
Mm-hmm. And
Illusions, enchanting, he was also insane. Used his telepathy to talk to everyone and try to fuck with people. I tried to turn a random, what was it, kobold lizard folk against the party.
Mhm.
I was like, hey, they're gonna kill you guys.
Oh yeah. Some of the something, and we won't get too deep into it. Real touch up on it too is that Warlocks also house the most unique type of magic, in which if I multi-class as any other types of casters, all of them go off of the same list of spell slots.
That's true. It combines. So if I wasn't really gonna get into multi-classing, but yes, if you were to build, say, a wizard cleric, or let's say a cleric druid, just because I'm an optimizer and it makes my brain happy.
Well, I was just mainly trying to bring necessarily bringing in
Right, I'm
Warlocks.
trying to explain though. So the short end of it is when we were talking about casters, third casters, half casters like paladins and rangers, that all matters when it comes to multi-classing because most classes combine their total caster levels to determine how many spell slots they have, how many spells they can cast per day.
So for a half caster, every 2 levels is one whole caster level.
Exactly. So if you were, say, a level 1 cleric, level 1 druid, you would have the same number of spell slots as a level 2 full caster. Because other than warlock, all of the casters get their spell slots at the same rate.
Mm-hmm.
So we warlock, like you said, because they get theirs back on short rest and it's not actually spell casting, it's pact magic, theirs gets to keep separate.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes into that sorcerer warlock thing I was mentioning, where like you turn your warlock slots into sorcery points, take a short rest, get warlock slots back, and rinse and repeat. You just never run out of spell slots in theory. It's just you don't need to long rest mechanically, other than the potential for exhaustion.
Oh yeah.
Warlock, and those are some of the fun things you can do with warlocks. That's why I love warlocks, because you can pepper a warlock on just about any class and it'll make it more fun and better. You can find a way to make 2 levels of warlock worthwhile because you get invocations. Like this free thing that I can now do that makes my character unique.
Mm.
Invocations, I would argue, are the most unique things. Yes, wizards, clerics, druids.
Their features without having to level up in the features.
Yeah, they all have different spells. Even the spells, though, for the most part, like the spells the classes know overlap for the most part. Yes, there are exceptions, but mostly the class spellcasters, their spells overlap. But like, what's it called? Warlock has a pretty unique spell list too.
Mm.
Eldritch Blast, they get a lot of weird spells. And they all. I mean, Wizard gets that.
Wizards do
No,
that.
warlocks did it too.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
but I'm talking about like spells that other classes don't have.
Like Find Steed, and
Oh.
that's not a paladin.
Yeah, like the smite spells, except warlocks even steal access to those.
Oh no, there's a lot of spells, a lot of classes that actually do have access to some of those smite spells. The big thing that paladin is most known for is its feature, Divine Smite. But
Okay.
then there's like spells like Find Steed that is only paladin.
Okay. I guess I'll leave it up to you guys. I honestly think the Q&A I have will take that long. I was gonna say we should take a break here before it, but it's up to you guys. Would you guys just rather power through and then call it?
We can do this. Let's just do the Q&A and then we can that. It's more like a talk show kind of setup. I'm not usually
Commercial break, bruh.
Yeah. Okay. We are not capital.
We have ads.
Oh yeah, you're not true. Yeah, this is true. But we don't know when they're going up.
Is that okay with the others?
What?
That's fine.
Would you rather just power through?
I really don't give a shit.
Okay. So I always try to get a couple questions that are random and that have to do with what we talked about. So we talked about backstories and concepting with our characters and personality and all the role play aspects that go into it. What's the specific aspect each of you has put into a backstory or personality that you're either really proud of or you're really interested in playing? You know, Christian and Lainey said they're new, so they haven't played many. But what's a specific like aspect of a character that isn't tied to mechanics that you're like, I really enjoyed this to get this to work with this character?
An old dog with new tricks. An old dog learning new tricks. It's something that is pretty much Sif has been going through because his backstory, he'd gone through a full life. He had become a king. He had money. He had glory. All that. Now he's this paladin walking with a band of scoundrels, and coming to terms with previous past mistakes and coming to finding out that the world isn't just.
Cool. Lady?
For me, it would definitely have to be with Kranis because I built immaturity into him. Because when I made him as a player character, like I knew that he was only 17 years old. He's not charismatic because he speaks well. He's charismatic because he's good looking, and people tend to enjoy the music that he plays.
A good looking half orc. How
Huh?
A good looking half orc.
Yeah, I've drawn a picture of him, and I've had
diamond in the rough.
Fish. Okay.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying it's a diamond in the rough. Most people, that's not what they think. They don't think, let me make a handsome half orc.
Well, it's worked out because a fucking Fey King is my dad, so
Fair
makes
enough.
sense. But so I've enjoyed building that into his character because it's starting to like I can actually see the development personality wise that's happening with him as we continue to play. Like he's slowly growing more confident in what he says. He's actually like because he's been spending a lot of time in the Feywild, he's starting to develop like this fuck it really goofy attitude.
That's what I wanted him to do. I want him to come back and be like, kind of like, wait, that guy is that half orc Fey?
Yeah.
What is he doing?
Yeah, it's like I definitely want his physical appearance to kind of change a bit too as this goes on, but that's something that's.
Oh, I imagined his like ears would get longer. They wouldn't get Eladrin long, but
No.
but yeah, I kind of imagined honestly like my goal whenever I'm like, okay, you're going to the. Let me tell you, regardless of whatever save you make when you leave the Fae based on like the planar rules in the DMG, I'm always like, you're gonna come out different. And it's probably not gonna be in a good way. And like I feel like for Cran, I've been trying to see if I can find a way to make him almost end up like Elodin.
Like who?
Elodin.
Oh, okay. It just cut off.
Not like necessarily in actions, but just like wigging out just random stuff that makes no sense. Go collect collect 4 pine cones for me this size and this wide.
Yeah, that sounds like what is sort of happening at this point. Because he's like,
I was like, that's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, because he's just kind of like, man, I don't know what's going on. I'm running around with this hot chick who really doesn't even like me. It's been a fun experience with him.
Christian?
For me, it was definitely like working in a creative aspect, like for me. So, like I said earlier, Sora is a guild artisan, and like being able to work that into her backstory and like have proficiency with like skills and like have downtime and things, and working with my DM to like work out how crafting works in the world, and like having that kind of medium work well in a character, and then supplementing it with like classes like Artificer that are like into tinkering and like creating magic characters, like making it work conceptually was like a really big thing that I was like kind of proud of in that character. And like thematically, I think it worked kind of well.
Getting that part of Sora to feel right for you.
Right, yeah. And like I said in earlier in the stream, like she had started as a fighter and then like evolved into a sorcerer later because like thematically it kind of worked better for what I had envisioned for my character and
Right.
gave me a little more versatility and like diverse combat situations that I could put my character in instead of just going up and being a martial based character that like created stuff on the side. Like that was a little less rewarding for me. So I changed my character through the process of the campaign to mold into what I felt more thematically fit what I wanted to play and enjoyed. And I kind of got it there more towards the end. Um, and like it's a constant process and like you're always like learning as like a player and like as your character as well is also developing it was really a good like enjoyable time for me and to really make that work and work well and like have that creative freedom was a huge win. So
Yeah. Honestly, it's always hard for me.
What?
I hate answering. I hate because what I do. The other part of getting these questions is I try to ask myself that would make me think and put effort into the answer.
Mhm.
You know, because I don't want to just like, oh, this thing. I want to like get people
Yeah.
talking, and like
Yeah.
then it gets to me, and I'm like, man, which one is it?
It's hard for you to think of something that would interest you enough to put thought into it, huh?
I was like, I've had so many characters.
Welcome to the leading position, my good sir. Sometimes
I
leading the
there's
conversation.
nothing else. Actually, what I will say, I am very proud that I was. It's a hurdle I overcame with Elzan, and it's part of why I miss him so much. Is Elzan is the first character that I didn't build with like this is what I want this character to be like late level, whether it be this person from a show or book or movie. But it was the first character that I was like, nah, that's what I rolled. I'm playing a wizard. This is the character. Let's see how this character develops. Where I didn't try and pre-develop him into something. I do that a lot with my characters and I didn't with Elzan.
I feel like you're only hurting yourself when you do that. Like when you have an idea of what you want your character to be, I feel like that limits you role play and story wise.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I really liked Elzan because I started. I was like, yeah, he's a wizard. And someone else was like, do you want to know me? Like, how do you know me? I was like, oh, I mean, I left this thing and want to form my own wizard guild, like my own wizard tower, and take over. I'm like, just so you know, you might not know that, but before you decide you want to backstory with me this way. Let me tell you, I'm not a good wizard, and like he didn't start anyway. He was just like, yeah, I want to get show these guys that kick me out that I'm better than, and basically take over the wizard towers in Faerun. And like then these other people, Dicketh and Katra, started following him, and I was like, oh, he's a leader. They're following him. And then like he started talking, and he developed into this character that was very I won't say he was evil or bad, but he was very on the line, like the most on the line.
And
And
then
I
you had Dicketh on one shoulder and Contra.
no, they didn't say anything, and everything.
Oh.
I built so the only thing I went in with Zan, funnily enough, is that I was building a character that was not a leader because charisma is one of my never dump stats. That's the next question. We'll get into it. But um, So I was like, no, I'm sick of doing this. I feel like I talk too much. I want to build a character with a low charisma, and as a player, choose not to be as vocal with that character and make that character a little more reserved. And then everyone's like, yeah, we're following you. You're this wizard. You're going to teach us magic. And I was like, fuck, I'm the leader again, but I don't have the charisma for this.
Don't need charisma to be a leader.
I just that aspect of Elzan, I'm actually really proud that I did. That I was able to not go in with a full concept and idea of how I wanted this character to be.
I think you should do that more often.
I'm gonna try. Like I said, it was a hurdle. It was something I was trying. Kovash was spur of the moment. I think because I was so. I will say that too. Kyle has complained that like I was just ready. I was like, Elzan's dead. Guess I'll make a new character for next session. But like low key, I inside like Elzan. What's it? Fredo died. I wasn't happy. Elzan dying hit me some type of way because I had just become him instead of trying to shape him.
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree. I'm gonna do that more. Next question, though.
Or always.
Huh?
Or always.
It's a process. It's hard for me. But next question. Yes, we're always building a concept, etc., etc. But what's your never dump stat? And I'm gonna say other than Constitution because that's generally speaking, for the most part, a given. What's the stat that you're like, yo, I cannot put a 4 in this?
I don't have one.
Like something that you're like in at like what I'm saying is like the absolute last one.
And again, my answer is, and this is because of the way that I make my character, is I don't have one. Every single stat, including Constitution, yes, I've suffered for it, but every single stat, including Constitution, I have dumped for the concept as opposed to the optimization of the character that I'm making.
I just can't do Constitution. I guess maybe that's not as universal.
It's
last
also
week,
like,
everyone was pretty universal on that. They were like, "Don't do it." No.
Now, like I would definitely say don't dump Constitution, but there's none of them that are like I'll always dump this or I will never dump this.
That's
one.
a good one, Phoenix.
Simply because like take Sif for example. Sif is the first character I've made that actually does that. His dexterity is dumped. I always had dexterity as a higher stat.
I've started, and it's not as bad as I always thought it was. I can still roll decent as long as it's not like a 4.
However, I've also come to notice that since I've dumped dex, that I have a lot less ranged option. You went for the crossbow and got to use it once, and when you don't have anything to add to save proficiency, it's still not that great. It's still not the greatest thing to use. It comes down to how what it is that you what it is that you want your character to kind of be like, and how much you want to strictly keep to that. Jumping back to before, like how you make a lot of these characters, a lot of these concepts. One of the original concepts for Sif was I wanted to make someone that was Vader. Honestly, it was. I wanted to put someone that went through life, got damaged, and was put into a suit of armor, and that evolved into a paladin. That Sif is. Well, that's not the only concept that thing that kind of helped shape him, as he's a wolf knight and a king and a lot of these other things. The major concept that Vader. But there have been a couple instances in the campaign that I would say Sif hasn't made the decision Vader would have made. Because it's more so
I understand that's where he came from. I don't know of very many decisions he made that Vader would have. Like Sif is one of the honest. He has a path he follows. He's willing to do bad stuff, but Sif is relatively good.
You don't know how. There's a reason he's chaotic.
Christian, never dump stat.
Yeah, for me personally, besides like Khan, it would probably be Dex. Like, I feel like, just in the characters that I... Pardon?
I was just gonna say, yeah, you mean sort of like I don't necessarily have sneaky, but I don't want to not sneaky.
Yeah, and I also find like it involves like some proficiencies and stuff that you might need, or
that's true.
And it's just like and also it gives you advantage in like position in round combat, so like it's a good stat to have high, you know.
I agree. That's probably what mine would be, Lady.
For me, I have problems dumping both wisdom and charisma, just because like.
Now, when you say both of them, like you mean you don't like having low in either of them, or you cannot play with both of them low?
I mean, like I don't like to have either of them low.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always like a toss up. I'll usually dump charisma over wisdom, just because like I cannot stand failing insight and perception checks, because those are like my bread and butter. like just as a person. That's where I gather most of my information is by
Yeah.
like observing and reading. So like to dump that, it just makes me feel blind.
No, I agree, and that's actually why, like, while I'll dump it to the point of like an 8 or a 10, like you and me were talking about earlier, I do have to change mine from Dex. I can't put a 4 or a 6 in my intelligence. It doesn't work.
You don't try.
It's
Just saying.
I
You
can't
don't-
do it.
I'm
That's
sorry,
my
Don.
never
I
done.
think the entire NPC
Look, you
group
just said
as a whole,
you just said you
6-1 would vote that you just don't try.
no.
I think
I have
everyone-
tried multiple times. Fredo was dumb.
Fredo was not dumb.
Fredo was very dumb.
Fredo was not.
Fredo
dumb.
killed himself for people he didn't know.
Fredo was able to understand the concept of putting a temporal thing in another temporal thing. He was not dumb. The fact that he was able to understand that and go through that whole conversation and even lead the conversation on such.
The dice roll how the dice roll.
No, that's
man.
not how the dice roll. Because at the end of the day,
No, you made me roll before you allowed it. You made me roll like 10 times for that.
no, I made you roll once for that one because I made you.
No,
roll.
To identify it, and then 4 other times in the process of putting it in. You were
And
like,
then they ask the druid who gives no shit about death to do a funeral.
Yep.
I'm gonna skip the next one. I don't think anyone here necessarily dislikes them. I think everyone can find joy in certain Mary Sue characters, those stereotypes, the rogue that grew up on the street.
I got one thing
Yeah.
to say about Mary Sue.
I don't necessarily like, I don't like building them. I try to go counter to it when I can, but
one
I
thing-
can enjoy them.
I got one thing to say about Mary Sue's, and this goes to everyone. Ignore the term Mary Sue. At the end of the day, you're playing a game. If you want to play Arthur, play Arthur. Who cares what anyone has to say about being Mary Sue or this, that, or the other? Okay, congratulations. It's what I like.
I guess maybe
Do
we'll
it.
make it a question. Like,
No,
it's I don't like I said, I enjoy them. I have nothing against them. Some people enjoy building those characters, some don't. Some like to have a unique thing. Kranis as the half orc handsome bard is not a typical like Mary that is the opposite of a Mary Sue. Some people enjoy that, some don't. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. It's an opinion question. Like, yeah, it was just an opinion. Do you? It's not something I like to build.
Well, the only reason I feel the need to say it is because there's been a few instances, and it's not necessarily this group. This
Yeah.
group has been good about it,
Yeah.
but there are other groups I was a part of. Remember this? You guys were in my first D&D group.
Right.
There are other previous
Oh,
groups
God.
that I was a part of where you'd come up with a concept and they'd be like, "Oh, that's so lame," or "Oh,
When you're
Aragorn,"
like,
or-
oh yeah, I'm a rogue. I grew up on the street with no parents. I was an orphan. I was an urchin, and I had to find my own way. So I stole and became a rogue. And they're like, I've seen that a million times. Yeah, I don't mind Mary Sue's. I don't like try to build them.
It's also it's also kind of like when you're playing a game, you enjoy it, and you hop online, and you end up against people who play 12 hours a day. Now you don't want to go online anymore. It's
Don't focus on optimization ultimately, guys. And like he's saying, play the character you want, but
the whole reason that I bring it out though is just because too many people may or may not use the term Mary Sue or such to kind of demean people or push them away from wanting to play. And especially since we're wanting to show people and explain it so they might be able to come to enjoy it, I want to say let's not worry about the whole Mary Sue.
I don't. Name of a trope, like it's a type of character that is often done. It's a name of a trope. It's not demeaning. Like that.
You might not use it as a demeaning, as very different things throughout are proven. There are many ways to use them.
This is a type of character. Like it is a defined word that is what it means. It's not like I guess I don't know the origins, but like this is a defined thing within most role playing things or characters. I've heard didn't just hear it in D&D. I've heard it in everything, and it's never been like a bad thing. It's just been like this is a example of a Mary Sue character, a character with a commonly known backstory, easily relatable. Like there's nothing negative about it.
I can see how people would you like take it derogatorily though.
Yeah, like I said, I guess I don't know the origins for sure, so I'm not gonna like weigh in. I didn't mean anything. It was
No,
it,
and I was
it's a
saying,
character question. Do you enjoy characters with typical tropes? Do you enjoy making the orphan rogue, or do you prefer to make the never before seen character?
I prefer to make what I like to make. That's pretty much the iteration.
That's the question: is what you like to make more?
So,
It changes.
I don't
it
know.
varies. We get that. It's
but
opinion.
sometimes you don't know what the Mary Sue is. Sometimes you don't know that that's easily relatable. And sometimes you make a character that is easily relatable that wasn't.
Why it's Mary Sue? It's not actually Mary Sue. Like I say, orphan rogue. Everyone knows what I mean. That's not limited to D&D. That's all of books, movies. That's a common trope. That's it. Like if it's a thing that they're like, oh, like people were like, I want to be a drow ranger. That's not Mary Sue to me because that's specific to D&D. That's not a commonly done trope. That is a unique trope that lots of people like to do. Like there's a difference. I guess is what I'm saying,
And
I
there are other
think
ways to perspective. And if I may say for a moment, especially since it's an opinionated thing, there are varying many other perspectives to take into account. My perspective into the account, and most of the instances where I have dealt with it and where Mary Sue has been brought up, it has been in that version. So that's why I felt the need to. So let's move on.
Oh, Kyle had it. He's an asshole. It's in chat if you want to read Mary Sue's. But yeah, that's the other reason I was gonna skip it. The last question I had was, what non D&D game are you most
name was Mary Sue. Got the rank.
What's the non D&D game you're most excited to try for the first time? I guess whether it be video game or something else. I guess I was aiming more like tabletops or RPGs. Oh, is Kyle jumping in? Is that what's happening?
No,
those dirty dangles mangles disappearing.
that's me. I'm trying to get back to the thing. Don't worry about it. Okay.
We can see you.
Lainey,
I'm talking about that.
let's you go first. What non D&D excited to try the most? Whether I guess whatever. I was kind of aiming for like tabletops, but I'm open.
Who me?
Yeah.
Oh, that one, the vampire one.
Vampire the Masquerade.
That's the one.
I've always wanted to play it. I don't. Someone sent me the PDF of the rules, and I never finished.
It's pretty simple.
It seems fairly open.
It's very open.
Christian.
I'm not like super knowledgeable on like tabletops and stuff. Like I'm not
You want
sure.
to play
Yeah, masks, but that's not something that I'm playing for the first time or like trying for the first
That's
time.
true.
So.
I mean, masks is gonna be my answer too. It's also really open. I'm finding.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm super stoked to play masks, and like since we've played it before, I mean, like the general hype behind it is like pretty big in general.
I almost brought back my old character.
Yeah.
Dude, like your character was so cool last time with all like the smoke and the illusions and just like and Don's character too. Like I just imagine you guys like thugging it up in the streets.
Yeah. I was sad that we only got like what 2 episodes in. Well, 3 technically because like you and John had that like split off session.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer also had an episode that was called Superstar for that Mary Sue parody aspect. Chat's like pointing out real quick.
Wow. Okay. Like I said, I've never heard it used that way. That's not my intent, and I will avoid using it.
Oh no, I'm not saying. If I may, it was never intention to go into that. It was more so for the people who do hear it like that.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Like clarifying, that's not. I have no problem with it. I think it's fun. But yeah, I was gonna say for me, we've played it, but I want to explore it more. I'm finding my optimization takes a backseat in more open-ended games. It's easier for me to focus on the personality and role-playing character when I don't have all of these different features, stats, and things that actually define how my character does things. Like it's the way my brain works. But what about you, Austin?
Oh, I would look. I would really look forward. I would really be looking forward to like a going into like the tabletop role playing variation of like 40K and such. The idea of
I
being able
have
to
played that at work.
the idea
Dude,
of
yeah, I would actually be into that.
The Age
there-
of Sigmar stuff.
not necessarily Age of Sigmar, but more so like in the grim dark future of 40K. So I want to make so let's take Sif and multiply him by 10. So now, as opposed to always just walking around this giant plate armor, now it's this bulky power armor. I am the super giant human who can crush something's head in my hand.
Yeah.
I'm going to all these different things, and it would.
That one
I
uses
feel this one more leans towards the tactical sides of these different
yeah,
ones. It's
which is
actually
another
more-
thing my brain enjoys. It would honestly, for me, it probably end up being the opposite, where I would be looking at it like, how do I make this good?
Mhm.
But I think being like you said, grimdark, that makes it necessary to a degree. Cassia.
Hello, gato.
He's a good boy.
But yeah, that one
I lied actually, guys.
it's
um,
super, yeah, like
What am I about?
in depth from what the bit I've seen. But that's how rule books look. That's why we're doing this, is to explain how it works for you guys out there in chat. That might not know, because like just looking at a rule, like we're trying to explain, it's really not. Like it's really about what you want to do, and then finding the things that help make that make sense.
I want to know what Christian lied about.
Oh, there is a tabletop that I'm excited to try. It's like the Star Wars one.
Oh,
Yeah, Steve actually sent me the books for those, and I was gonna try my hand at like DMing it sometime later this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, hey, that is something that I am looking forward to. So
cool. That would be awesome. Yeah. That one's been in the talks for forever. Everyone always says we always just keep building new D&D games. And that's why I'm happy Masks is finally happening, because for a while I wanted to play other RPGs. I feel like I need to branch out more.
yeah, it would kind of be like now that Polynesia's on break, it would be nice to just kind of like get a couple of other like tabletops and just
Yeah.
like find how the mechanics of other games kind of work, just
Oh,
for
God. The
you know
table-
the sake of it.
the tabletop games are becoming like Hydra. One ends, two more rise in its place.
True.
But yeah, thanks guys for coming out. That's actually all I got. GURPS is so basic. GURPS is what makes so many other things though. Like some of these games and systems we talk about use GURPS systems, don't they? Like GURPS is just the base for building your own RPG. And then people have basically used GURPS to make these specific ones like masks and other things.
Yes.
That's what I always saw in all my groups, was that GURPS was like this not base, but it was like, this is an RPG. Go for it. It's super complex. And then all these others take aspects and rules from it and make it their own. But yeah, that's all the questions we got. We didn't take a break today. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know necessarily how long it's going to be going, but maybe it'll come back at some point in the future. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Dickus Band of Merry Men tomorrow. Keel, you're in chat.
We don't know.
Keel's in chat. Confirm. I want to know what's gonna happen.
I
I
wanna
do too.
know.
I
Can
don't know
you
what adventure
show
with
me?
Jelen is.
That's my question. That's why we're asking you, the DM. It's been a while. Are we canceling again? I want to be able to chat
It's been a while.
with my move and other stuff. I'm okay canceling.
I want to let you know, if you would have just if I would have stuff the way you made it out to be, I could have fit we touch in the SUV, including those dressers and such, as all trips.
Yeah. So tune in. We'll let you guys stuff when we go live. So regardless of what we decide to do tomorrow, maybe we'll stream something else or do something else. We don't really know. But regardless of that, pay attention to Facebook. It'll be up. You'll see us on Twitch Go Live. If you like us, hit that follow. Thanks for coming, guys. And I think we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I know. So, anything last anyone say? Would you like to say goodbyes?
Freeze frame.
Arrivederci.